Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Insider Gaming Developer Spotlight. I'm, of course, Senior Editor Mike Straw, and today we are talking all about the mountain biking open world game Mavrix. I am joined by Matt and Jonah. Guys, could you please introduce yourselves for the people who don't know who you are?
So we're twins. My name's Matt. This is my twin brother, Jono. We both grew up riding mountain bikes, fell in love with the sport. We've both ridden mountain bikes professionally for years and years and years now, like 20, well, done it professionally for 12 years. And a few years ago, decided I wanted to make a video game. And that sparked the inspiration, the concept, and now the reality that we're launching this week, Mavrix, which is, as you explained, our open world mountain bike game that John and I have teamed up together, worked with an amazing developing partner, and we've built, honestly, what I think is the most authentic and awesome mountain bike experience you can possibly get your hands on. There's your intro.
So, I loved it. It was perfect. Mavrix, I mean, the first description when you go into the Steam page or Epic Games Store, it's described as a game built by riders for riders. Where did the idea for it come from? Like, was this just brainstormed by the two of y'all thinking, you know, there's games out there, like there's Descenders, there's Downhill, like there's biking games out there, but nothing that captured what the experience truly was on a more simulation level?
We both played a lot of games growing up. We loved them. SSX Tricky, Downhill Domination, which was an amazing biking game.
Yeah.
A lot of extreme sports games, and then focus a lot on our own careers. But Matt should really answer this one. It was his idea to get this going, and he was working on it for a little while before I really came on board. So I think it's fair that you answer this one.
Like John said, we traveled the world. I went to competitions, did quite well, and then went back to games and thought, okay, sweet, let's go and get a mountain bike game. Obviously, that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, and nothing represented my sport as I know it. Like, I've done it for so many years and done it competitively, and there was no game that kind of made the controls feel authentic, or the levels, the jumps, the riders, the pros, the brands, nothing matched. It was just like, I didn't understand who designed it or who it was for, because it didn't resonate with me. So I wanted to set out and fix that, I guess. The more I've learned, the more I've dived into it. It's pretty insane building video games. It wasn't a 5-minute fix. I mean, I'm lucky to have a lot of connections and pro riders, and Red Bull's one of our main partners with Mavrix, and they've been amazing at kind of giving us access to their events and pro athletes and things. So we've done what I think is the best job possible to bring all of that expertise, wisdom, experience into one place for people that this is the other thing, okay? Like with YouTube and stuff now and social media, my audience and the mountain bike audience know what it's all about. Like, they have full transparency. They know what the riders are up to. They know about the tricks, where we go, how different bikes perform on different terrain. It's like, it's not random. So unless you give people that full like level of detail that they understand, you failed. So I felt like it actually relies on an extreme sports athlete these days to build extreme sports games, but it appears that that's not how it's done.
Yeah. How long was the idea of the game in the works? Like, how long has this been going?
I met a guy called Chris who's from the games industry. He's grown some big studios and things. So he's been amazing at kind of accelerating, getting us off the ground and introducing me to the right people to kind of start saying all this stuff to dev teams and things. But we were going to start off with a phone game. And then what we realized was like the tech available now with the Unreal Engine and things, and the amount of physics you can push into a video game, actually we'd be better off building a AAA game, essentially, that can support all of that depth of physics and things. So that took things a little longer. But that was 4 years ago we met and started talking about it. And now 2025, we're about to go into early access for Mavrix.
You mentioned that, you know, to build a game, an extreme sports game, it makes sense to have people from, you know, the discipline involved, having extreme sport athletes involved. How involved were you with the development side of things, like hands-on decisions, making sure certain features were there? And we'll get to the features of the game more in detail in a minute, but just how involved were you on the day-to-day side of things of making sure it felt the way it should?
Well, to start off with, it was several days a week up at Third Kind Games, who are our developing partner. Nothing, I mean, it sounds lame saying it, but like nothing really moved without me knowing about it and orchestrating it, really, because essentially it was my project, right? I don't want to sound like big-headed, but it really was driven
by me, and those guys didn't know about mountain biking. And it's sick now that half the office go out on rides in the evenings. Like, I've converted these team of people mountain bike riders, but at the start I had to explain, like how to pedal a bike, how it feels when you go around a corner and pull the back brake, what happens when you lean forward and pull the front brake, what happens. And the moment I put a controller in my hand and we started discussing controls, I mean, a controller has 2 triggers, just like your bike has 2 brake levers. And the most obvious thing at the start was, well, they're going to be our brakes. Let's split up the brakes into front and rear, which you can switch if you're from different countries when it's backwards. And immediately it became immersive. It was like I was holding a pair of handlebars, and everything else kind of fell around that. And again, I couldn't believe no one had done that. I kind of said to the guys, like, which other games do this? Let's look at that. And we looked, and like, no one has, which seems bizarre. And it just proves that, like, bikers haven't designed bike games. And the story behind Jono coming on board was spending all that time with a development studio and all these people and all these meetings and calls. I couldn't handle it on my own. And Jono has the equal amount of mountain bike experience as me and worked in banking in London on the side. Somehow he did both, and convinced him to leave his job in London and come and build video games as well. So that's why we're both sat here.
You mentioned
hugely involved. Yeah. I mean, just for context, Mavrix is an open world mountain bike game. It's huge, 100 square kilometers. Everything's rideable. It's connected by chairlifts like real life. You get chairlifts up to gain elevation, then you ride trails down. There's racing, there's sponsorship systems. There's loads to do, but we've had to be really involved in all of that to make it authentic. So even the world itself is very much based on Wales, where we were yesterday. We're driving back up there tomorrow morning for a big competition. Like, everyone in the UK that rides mountain bikes heads to Wales. So when you go into Mavrix, it's like, wow, I know where this is. It feels legit. And from the trail design, the challenges, the sponsorship system, we've been super involved. And it's cool from the development team's perspective, it's interesting hearing typically they'd grey box something, iterate it, have a bit of a governance structure where they'd approve things. Whereas when Matt and I are in the office, it's just like, this is how it should look. Here's a video of us doing it.
Yeah, it's true.
And then they can get to work straight away on it. And that's, I think, sped things up quite a lot and allowed us to move pretty fast and be agile.
With that in mind, though, I mean, you guys have the experience of what mountain biking should be like. The developers obviously have the experience of how a game should be. You have to kind of blend that, and you have to get that balance of, we want it to be realistic, but we don't want it to be to the point where it's not fun for people picking this up for the first time. What's been that give and take like between what you got? Like, obviously they'll come to you and say, well, we maybe shouldn't touch this. Like, what's been that give and take of, like, okay, like, do this, but leave this out, keep this in, take this out type of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So that was apparent from the start. We've got to strike a balance between full simulation and something that's arcadey. Now, I don't like the idea of an arcadey game because they exist and got a really low skill ceiling and they're fun for 5 minutes. But then you could say it's like the same negatives for full simulation. It's just so complex that maybe someone will play it for 5 hours and still can't pedal a bike around. But the beauty of it was that I had my version in my head of what it needed to be and how it needed to work. But through the testing phase, I'm working with non-mountain bikers in the office. So we naturally met in the middle at the point that I'm loving it and I'm managing to do creative lines and tricks that I know I can do on a bike. But then the dev team, who don't ride bikes so much, were able to do similar amounts of stuff, but I had the edge. That was like where we always landed on. It's like, can you guys pick up the controller and do it? Yeah, just about. Can I then excel and use my knowledge of downhill mountain biking, slopestyle mountain biking to be better? Yes. And then we've landed on it, right? So you just have to be involved from the start. And any previous games where I think they've brought an athlete in at the end to put their name to it, it's too late in the day to get it right.
You brought up the controls and you brought up the brakes. It also has a dual stick control system to add to that feeling of full control when you're on the bike. How important was that to make sure? Was not how important, but was there ever a time when you guys were feeling it out and testing it and getting feedback where maybe you hit that point where it might be getting too complex, or did you feel you found that nice balance there with the controls specifically?
I've never actually moved away from the original plan for what the controls were going to be. There's only so much you have on offer holding a gamepad, and especially once you've taken up both triggers as brakes. But actually, there's only so much you can do on a bike. You can brake, pedal, steer the handlebars and move your body around. And actually a controller gives you all those things. The left stick's the handlebars, the right stick's your body. You've got 2 brakes and a button to pedal. So that controller can do all the things I can do. So we just need to build a bike mechanic and physics model that allows all the stuff I can do on a bike to work. That's where it really got tricky.
You talked about the game's map. I mean, 100 square kilometers for those, on my side of the sea, about 38 and a half square miles. It's based on Wales. How? Because obviously every trail, every downhill, everything is unique. How unique is each area of the map? Will there be areas where things kind of feel similar, or was it a goal to make sure we need to make sure, just because we see it a lot with games, open world games, they start to get really repetitive, or they're empty. There's not much difference in going from the east coast of the map to the west coast of the map. Like, how unique does this feel when players are riding through the trails, I guess?
Every region which you unlock as you discover it has its own identity and feel. But you can quite quickly navigate the whole world using the chairlift. So no one's ever felt lost. No one's ever felt bored, because you're only a short pedal away from a chairlift, and then you're at the top of a mountain. And mountain biking's a gravity sport. Like, you don't need an engine. You just need altitude and elevation, and that's what the chairlifts provide. So you can spend the vast majority of your time bombing down hills, hitting jumps. And yeah, that open world's never going to feel boring when you're flying through the air.
Were there any areas or locations that kind of inspired, like when it came to figuring out what you and the team wanted the map to look like? Anything that you guys have done in your careers that you say, we want to recreate as close as possible to this? I know you said it's based on Wales, but any specific regions?
Yeah, it's based on Wales from like a biomes and topography perspective, but there's some features and some of them did actually happen in Wales, that have been really key in the sport, and particularly in Matt's career. They're iconic moments, and we wanted to recreate them in Mavrix. We've been in a position where we've been able to have mountain bike careers. Matt's been much more successful than I have, but he's done some incredible things, and people have watched that from their sofa, be it on YouTube, be it on social media, and then to be able to put those same features and experiences in the game for people to hold a controller and do is pretty awesome. A prime example would be a canyon gap that you jumped in Wales. You might want to talk about that.
Yeah, last year Red Bull built this most insane jump. It was about 80 foot long over a ravine. It was supposed to be in a race, in the race, Red Bull Hardline, which we're going to next week. And then 3 of us went up to test it. One of us crashed really badly, and it became like this. It's fine, but it became like this iconic moment where these 3 mountain bikers, me being one of them, just foolishly were jumping this jump, testing it out, then ended up getting pulled from the event and never to be seen again. So it's like quite a moment in history where there was this. It's honestly like an Evel Knievel stunt. So we put that in the game. I a few years ago moved to a farm where I built loads of jumps all around the fields. I did a jump over my house as a video, and that's in the game. So all these like moments in my career, it's like, right, we need to get that in the game, and then people can connect with it. And when they come over a mountain and spot that line, it might feel familiar. I think that's really important. That makes the whole world feel smaller and it creates connection. When you actually in a game recognize where you are in some sense. So that's fun.
You mentioned things that you wanted. Were there any things maybe that didn't make the cut?
Yeah, loads. Long list. Yeah, so many. That's been like the battle with building this. Is like we have so much desire as the I don't know what you call us, the clients, we are the game, right? The vision. And then you're constantly having to manage your expectations. It's like, well, how big do you want your team to be? Because that just requires more people. But the beauty of us going into early access is that we're going to do pretty much monthly live ops beats and big drops of content and updates. And we're already planning the first one right now, which will mean that some of those ideas slot into the first, some of them slot into the second. So I imagine by the time we get to official release, I won't call it official release until all those big ideas are in. So that's the game.
Mavrix, obviously, this is launching the day of early access drop, July 24th. It's going to be on Steam and Epic Games Store. Is there a plan, I'm assuming, whether it's at 1.0 or down the line, to bring it also to console players?
Yeah, we've already started the work. Yeah, so that'll be very early 2026, which I think is pretty quick, to be honest. And between now and then, we're developing the game and making it better. So, yeah, I'm so conscious of my audience not all having access to PCs and console being super important. So I wouldn't have done a good job of building a video game for my community if it didn't fall into those console categories.
What consoles will it be on? Just like the modern, like current gen PS5, Xbox Series X and S? Will it be on Switch? Will it be on the old PS4, Xbox One, or just be on everything?
Yeah, just the latest ones, I think. We're trying to optimize. I'd love it to kind of go back a few years and people with older consoles to be able to play. But right now, it's just the new Series Xbox and PS5. And yeah, I probably shouldn't say too much. We'd like to get it on Steam Deck and stuff like that. I want it to be accessible.
Throughout this process, obviously, you guys are coming in. You joined and are part of a medium that you hadn't been a part of before. What are some of the biggest surprises throughout this whole process that maybe made you guys think, like, I didn't realize game development was like this, or I thought it was easier than this, I thought it might have been harder than this? Like things that just caught you off guard, I guess.
I suppose a lot of the stuff that we imagine is visual. So you see a product that you can see and you think, done it, perfect, great. And then, a lot of that's like concept art, and then it's actually got to be modeled, and it's actually got to work and have collisions, and then that's got to be optimized. And it's the depth of beyond what you see to actually get it game ready. When I came on the project, that was a big learning curve for me, for sure.
Yeah. It's insanely expensive too, man. Like, my goodness.
Yeah, it's like even the smaller games today, even the small ones, like the prices.
I couldn't believe it. It'd be cheaper to go and hire a load of machines and build those tracks in Wales than probably build them in the game. So they work. Probably you could build a couple of good chairlifts. Yeah, that's true. I could have actually just built a bike park. But what blew my mind is how many people have to like touch something and have input on something for it to work. From, like Jono said, from concept art to an artist, to a 3D artist, to an environment artist, and programmers, and just to make something look good and move well. That blew my mind. I kind of naively thought there'd be a bit of this drag and drop approach of, well, trees already exist in other games. Can't we just use their trees and make them move like they move there? Or no, we need to do it ourselves.
What it was working with Third Kind Games, what was like a typical day or week like during this? I mean, the development process obviously still ongoing with early access, but during like the main to get it to this point, what was a typical day or week like?
To start off with, it was really face to face. Like, I was in the office loads, almost like trying to win the crowd, right? They were probably like, who's this guy coming in here trying to tell us how to build a video game? But quite quickly, I became friends with all these guys, and they shared the interest, and I'd come in and they'd be telling me about YouTube videos they'd watched and asking, is that what you mean? Because we watched this video of Sam Pilgrim riding last weekend, like another pro. It's like, good, like we're getting somewhere now. I'm starting to like have this impact and strike a chord with people that probably originally didn't speak the same language as me, and they're like so elitely clever in their department, and I can't catch up with them, so they almost have to like lower themselves to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
To understand the way I see things. So it was just a lot of meetings in different departments, and just always coming back to being, I guess I had to try and keep my integrity of the idea, because it's super easy for a developer to kind of shift you towards their way of doing things, which they've done before. And I always try to bring it back, because I know you want to do it like that, but that's the reason you want to do it like that is because no one's done it properly. And like, these controls are really important to me, and the way the bike moves is really important to me, more important than kind of all that fancy stuff that we're going to get to. So that kind of layer of integrity was important for me to keep, and that just required a lot of visits. Whereas now we do a lot of things on calls and even go and meet some of the people personally. So it's changed a bit, and we all have a game to test together now. That's been the other tipping point. When it's all hypothetical, you're having to go over and over and over it. And now you can reference Chairlift Bravo needs to go up to the peak of the track we all know. So it changes. Suddenly you're all singing from the same hymn sheet.
It's an amazing relationship though. And they're world class. It's so awesome. I'd describe it as like, we'd be like the the racing driver, and there'd be like the mechanic, and you explain something that you're feeling on the track, and then you can see their brain working, and they're inside the engine, inside the car, and they're like, I know what I need to change now to make you feel what you want to feel. And that's the relationship we've sort of got to, and it's so perfect.
So the game, again, launches early access the day this interview drops, July 24th. What features can players expect on with this first launch, and what, I don't know what you can talk about, is expected to come or plan to come? You said monthly drops and stuff like that, but basically a roadmap type of thing.
So every player is going to arrive in the same open world with the bare minimum, and they need to explore, discover new regions, discover trails, complete those trails, to then they appear on their map. Then they can race those trails on global leaderboards, and there's tech challenges to kind of test their bike skills, essentially, all of which earn our in-game currency called moolah, which can be spent in the shop on customization, like new jerseys, trousers, kit, helmets, bike skins. And there's a sponsorship meta game to grind to kind of earn a reputation score with authentic mountain bike brands, which is very cool. And we'd like to, in the future, kind of blur the lines between being supported in Mavrix and supported in real life by those brands. From the get-go, we've got a partnership with a company called Just, where you can earn real money in the real world from doing challenges. So yeah, immediately people are going to be able to actually get money in the bank for playing Mavrix. It's essentially the mountain bike career in your living room. Like it encompasses everything that I've learned from sponsorship to getting the coolest bikes to leaderboards, racing, doing tricks, double backflips. It's just, that's what it kept coming back to. Does that exist in real life? Yes. Okay, then we must implement it into the game.
When it comes to you brought up the sponsorships and the progression system, like with that, how authentic is the sponsorship system and earning that? Is it more of like each sponsor, you'll have different goals you have to reach to try and reach out, or is it just like a linear kind of timeline to get through, like a ranking system, I guess?
Well, each sponsor has loads of challenges in tiers. So you got to potentially complete a batch of challenges to get that reputation score, and then you go again. But they are tailored towards what that brand is. So we've got like an action company, clothing, bike company. So the challenges are structured in a way that actually suits what that brand offers, like bikes, or do you know what I mean? So it's not random, and some are harder than others, and that score appears kind of by your name, so people know where you're at in that sponsorship system. And in real life, man, like being sponsored is everything. Like there's kids out there that would do anything for a free pair of gloves or some stickers, and we really wanted to capture that in game and make people feel special for working hard on it.
For multiplayer, one of the things is you're able to ride with friends, but with the progression system or an unlock and exploration system, how does that work when you're playing with other people?
It's more of a solo career mode. So there's other people riding around the world with you, but if you're focusing on those challenges, you're doing them on their own. So there's no sort of sponsorship co-op mode yet.
Yeah, it's shared open world.
It's shared open world, and you're choosing to do those challenges if you so please. The cool thing about it is you get noticed by the sponsor. So you may not know that you're doing the right thing, and you'll trigger a notification that they've noticed you. And that's pretty valid to real life as well.
Yeah.
You're out there competing, you're not really sure where this is going to go. You do a big trick, you make a cool video, and suddenly this email pops up and you're a professional mountain biker. And I'm pretty stoked that we managed to get that in there.
To your point, though, I'd like to get to the point where there's like this co-op approach to sponsorship. So some of the challenges need to be done with your teammate, for example. Which we'd like to implement in the future. And you did ask about what's coming. So there's more tracks, more real brands, some pro riders coming to the game and they'll appear properly as their authentic selves with their voice and face capture and everything. And then just constant work to the bike, the physics, animation, and then we're adding a whole load of tricks at the minute which are being motion captured, like Superman seat grabs, suicide handles, like all the proper stuff that you want to send off cliffs on a bike.
Will there be options? This might go without saying. Options to you're riding around, you're exploring, you're unlocking areas to have races with other players who are in that shared open world, like setting up a race with
head to head.
Yeah,
we're working on that. We want to do I don't want to ruin it, but we want to do some.
When players
style racing.
when players load up into Mavrix for the first time, what's the general vibe you're trying to create for that first time experience? Whether it's somebody who's experienced themselves in downhill mountain biking, or the most they've done on biking is riding around their neighborhood because that's their mode of transportation. Like, what is that general vibe you're trying to go for when someone loads in?
I want both people to have the exact same experience of, like, whether you completely understand it, and it's just because there's an onboarding part and video and kind of first time user experience to get you into the game, and everyone does that. So it's basic enough that someone who isn't familiar with all the controls can be walked through it like very quickly and understandably. But then people that are more advanced are going to understand it immediately. We've kind of adapted it so they can go a bit off field, like, yeah, you know, off on a tangent and enjoy it straight away in the first couple of minutes. But everyone ends up on a level playing field. They have to grind to unlock the same things, and there's something for everyone. So if you want to do tech challenges, if you want to race and get to the top of the leaderboards, that's all out there.
Where can people, as we wind this down, where can people get the latest up-to-date information on what's coming and what to expect and pick up the game?
On our Discord channel, really. It's where we're going to be posting live Q&As with Matt, loads of development updates, what's coming next. That's going to be the home for that. It's also where you can find out about these challenges from Just About that will win you money. So yeah, that's the location. Other than social media, Matt's YouTube, the Mavrix YouTube, Discord's the place.
Mavrix launches on July 24th today. Again, if you're just tuning in, or it's already out because chances are you're watching this after the fact anyway. Matt and Jono, thank you so much for taking the time. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on the game itself, and I'm looking forward to down the line talking to you in a few months to see how the feedback is and where the game's at.
Thanks so much, dude. Yeah, it's sick.
Appreciate it, bud.